Hi, ladies. Welcome back to Real Women Unplugged, where we have real life, real conversations. Look here, real, down to earth, authentic, and we make it practical, and it's all faith based. And our aim is to see you transformed as we too are being transformed. We want everybody to really live a successful life on this journey with God, this man named God. Oh my goodness, we love him so much, right? Today's topic is what to do when you don't know what to do. Can you imagine when you don't know what to do? What are you gonna do? You know? So let's get started. Anybody wanna start for me? Anybody has thoughts?
Um, I think first you should ball. That's what I do when I don't know what to do and I get frustrated. I just have a good ball to just get rid. No, like I'm legit, like to just get rid of the frustration. Like I acknowledge that I'm having this moment and I feel frustrated and I have this venting session with the Lord. Like God, like I have that moment where I just can't bother why and I have a pity party. I try to keep it short, but I do have a pity party. Now, now I've learned about the praise and thanksgiving. When I get in those moments, God, you are good. I know you have a plan for my life. Things are going to work out because you love me and I'm confident and you never bring me this far to leave me. And I start throwing all of those stuff out for real, just to bring my mind back to that place of it's gonna be okay because he's in control and he knows what I need to do next, right? And then even when I saw the title, the top for the topic, I thought of Donnie McClurkin's song. That's what I was singing before you started recording. After you've done all you can, you just stand. You just stand. Now, for me, that means wait, right? And if you know me, you know that I hate waiting. I'm not a good waiter. I'm a get it go. Cars, you complain about this with me all the time. Like I ask somebody to do something and I'm waiting for you to do it and it's taking too long. So I just go and do it myself because I don't like waiting. I need to get it done. Fine, it's a flaw. Um, but I've learned that waiting doesn't necessarily mean this whole period of inactivity, right? And what I do now, and because I don't want to chat it all out, I know y'all have good stuff, is that while I wait, I serve. Like, I find something to do. Maybe I can't do it in relation to my own situation. Like, I really just have to go and wait for that sort itself out. But then I just start doing something for other people. And a phrase I heard somebody say, what do waiters do? Like in a restaurant, what do the best waiters do? They serve.
Yeah, when I first read the title, I said my response to it was nothing, and it comes back to that whole matter of standing because I believe that when you don't know what to do, it brings us in a state of anxiety and panic, and that's never the right time to try and do anything. It's not the right atmosphere, and we, by default, we end up making, I don't want to blatantly say the wrong decision because sometimes you can hit it, but it is highly likely that whatever choice that we make in that environment is not going to be productive, and very often because of the grace of God, which we need oh so much, he will back us. He will allow the situation to work its way through, even in that decision. But it's this whole matter of, do we want the perfect will of God or do we want the permissive will of God? Those things have been discussed over and over again. But it's not the best time to make a decision when you don't know what to do. Remain still, because and then all of these different scriptures came to mind, because we can trust in the Lord, and we should do that and not lean on our own understanding, which is ultimately what we're doing when we get to that place of not knowing. It's because in our own minds we don't know. Trish, you said it, in our own minds We don't know what exactly it is that we think is to come next or that we think should work out. We have an expected outcome that may not match what it is that God is doing, and so all of a sudden we find ourselves in this halt zone, and we just don't know what is next. And this is where I believe our confidence and our faith is built up by getting to know God Himself. You know, one of the things that I jotted down is that I think in these wait periods or these places of uncertainty, it is the place that God is revealed to us more than any other time. You know, it is a place that we get to seek His face, and depending on what the circumstance, are we waiting on the results of a test that we just did to find out if we have that particular, you know, disease or whatever it is it the results that we're waiting on? I'm sure we're going to discover so much about Jehovah Rapha in that moment, you know. Are we waiting on that bank to approve that loan, or we're waiting on that grant for that business that we're about to open? I'm sure we're going to know about God, the provider, the one who can do miracles, the one who moves suddenly. And so I think in those moments, what do? We find the God of our situation, and we discover all that we can about Him, and we press into Him more than ever, so that our peace, that His peace that passes all understanding, will flood our hearts, flood our souls, so that we can come to a place of rest and trust Him.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Kerine said and Cara said. What do you do when you don't know what to do? And I kind of lean more towards Kerine because it's a lack of impatience. It's that fruit of the spirit that God is trying to work through us, which is patience, that causes us to have these frustrated moments. And frustration, when you're in a space of frustration, it never brings about a productive thought process. It will never, you can never get good answers from being frustrated. So I like to say something like this from my own experience. Like, if I want to hear something from God and He doesn't respond to me, even if I fling down myself on the ground and ball and while I'm in the dirt, and if I tear up my clothes and pinch myself and stab myself and bleed and say, "Look, God, it a bleed," it's still not gonna change one thing. So all I'm doing is being a spectacle. Seriously, that's what I'm doing. I'm being a spectacle. But in the same breath, as Cara said, it is also bringing you face to face with where you're at and the area that you need to grow, which is trusting God more, right? Trusting Him with all your heart, leaning not on your own understanding, in all your ways, acknowledge Him so that He can direct your path. And it's okay not to know what to do. Like, again, I always say we make Christianity look like a movie. Yeah, like what after Aka part, what after, yeah, what other after be the star girl or the star boy. You know, after do none of that. You just have to have a relationship with God and understand that He understands you, and anything that, even if I move right and it probably wasn't the right move, He's gonna work it out for my good because He recognized where I'm at in that space. And I'm gonna get emotional because that has been my experience. That has been my personal experience. I've made my mistakes. I've moved before God says move. I've been impatient, but like Kerine, I was at a place where I couldn't wait. I asked somebody to do something and them take forever. Well, them not really interested in it. I'm gonna do it myself. And I'm saying that I justify the reason why I do it. But what God was trying to say to me is, because you're impatient. And if you're impatient with the people that are around you, how then are you with me when you speak to me about something and I'm working on it for you, or I'm giving you another way out and you're hell bent on being stubborn and saying another way I want it? And the only thing we can do after we have done all the other things, fling down yourself a ground, ball, bleed, curse, is to still rest and say, I don't know what to do. I really don't know. And you really don't know, because God, I believe God in that time wants us to trust him. As Cara said, I'm just, basically reiterating the things that she said. He really wants us to come to a place where we yield to what process he's trying to work out in us. He's trying to get us to a place in our hearts where we are yielding. But because we're so stubborn and strong-willed and want everything to work out our way, or the I way for my way, then it cannot be God. And he must say, yeah, I'm in it all. I'm in the darkness, I'm in the light, I'm in everything. I'm in everything, every situation. We like to say it's the devil and the devil and the devil and the devil and him alone. But that cannot be, because if we're reading the manual, it means that we all walk in the rain and we all walk when it's sunny. So God is in everything. He's not in any situation, and he knows exactly what is going on. So it's for us to just rest the mind and do nothing. What about that? What about just, I don't know how to do it. What about just, I'm not going to do nothing. I'm doing nothing. I don't know what to do, and I'm not going to do anything, but I will live. It doesn't mean that I press pause on life. It doesn't mean now that I'm just going to have this whole pity party and invite Cara and Trisha and Kerine and everybody and all of my friends. They're going to come drink and eat with me while I show this pity party. No, I don't know what to do, so I go do something else. And leave that for when God comes with the bam. I'ma say, God, you're good enough. Oh, you're so sweet. You're sweet like a pawn, Oh, you do that so. You just slick for me and I never realize they step in. Because I just give it to him and I just yield to the process and just go do something else. So I'm actively still doing what I need to do while I wait on him to work out that area that I don't know what to do in there, because I really don't know what to do.
And sometimes we well,
Go
sometimes
ahead.
we're full of ourselves. We think we know exactly what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, why it needs to be done, and our actions pretty much say, God, I got this. You got what, little girl? You got what? And then people like me struggle a lot with feeling the need to fix things, and so not doing anything, my goodness, that cannot be the answer. That cannot be it. Like nothing. That don't add up. That doesn't compute for my mind. There must be something. Must be something. Nothing. But he is ultimately, as Sim said, he's doing something. He's working something, and I believe at the end of the day, it's our faith, because our faith has to be able to come to a place of rest, not have any hand at play in the matter, and know that he is God, that he is the one that is in control, and that if we truly believe that, then keep your little self quiet.
Listening to you guys talk and just thinking it through as we talk, I realize now that when, based on what we're saying, it sounds like we're doing two opposite things, right? Because on the one hand, the scripture that comes to mind is be still and know that I am God. So on the one hand, because we can't hear God when we're agitated, we can't hear him when we're busy and we're chatting up our mouth and all of them something there. But when you get still, right, and know that I am God. So one, you're now turning your attention to him and acknowledging him for who he is, right? You're waiting on him. It's when you're still, it's when you're silent that now he can give you an instruction or bring some insight or some revelation when you are still. So there comes that point where you're doing nothing, right? And yet you're doing something too, because you're still, because it says in everything give thanks. So that means when you don't know what else to do, you're giving thanks. So you're not doing nothing, but you're still doing something. And then when you wait, you serve. So it might be waiting and not doing anything in your present situation, but still serving and helping other people, because life goes on, as we said. So it's this whole thing where you're doing nothing, but you're doing something. Okay.
Yeah, and including like going to work if you work, or taking care of the children and all of that. You know what I mean? One of the things I totally agree with everything that has been said. And one of the other things that I do is, because at the beginning, well, I don't start at the beginning of the year. I usually start at closer to the end of the previous year. Because I would have asked him certain questions, I go back to the answers that I got and I go deeper with him to see if there is greater revelation from that. So some of the questions I ask are like, what's my word for the year? Some people say, some people call it word, some people call it theme. I call it focus word, because it is the thing that I'm focusing on, knowing that this is the area God is going to be working on. Even if there are other areas, this is the one He's telling me now, as well as um, the word that will help me to craft my programs and plans around how I help others. So, for example, if He says to me, my word for the year is acceleration, then I am going to say, okay, fine, God is accelerating me this year. What do I need to do to line up with what He's doing? And what do I need to write so that when I write this program, I am helping others to accelerate? So I go back to that and I ask Him to show me, go deeper, God. So I know, is there something more I could be doing? Is there something that I have missed in what you've already told me to do, and so on, Another thing I ask Him is, what's my verse for the year? Because all of these things give me clarity around what He wants me to be focused on. And I also ask Him for a glimpse of the year. So I say, God, show me a glimpse of my year. And so even if I'm at a place, I can go back, and all of this I'm journaling, or I'm taking a voice recording. Or, well, the truth of the matter is, there was a point in time when I never used to journal or voice record because I had very good memory. That does not work anymore. But I go back to whatever I recorded, and I'm just like, okay, Lord, you know, focus word, verse for the year, glimpse that you gave me. And I'm like, okay, but Lord, you did say this thing, say, did I do it, or yeah, or whatever, or I asked for greater revelation, and then, there are some other questions, but those are some of the main questions. And then, if after having done nothing because I'm being still, I'm still doing what I need to do, like, go to work and whatever. So I'm like Kerine say, you're doing nothing, but you're doing something. I'm giving praise, I'm giving thanks, all of the things that we have talked about. And then I go back to what He told me about the year. And I still feel like, okay, there is something missing. I'm waiting on Him, but something is missing. Me go ask Pastor Al for time. I sit down in front of him and I say, for me, it's Pastor Al, but it could be somebody else, meaning another spiritual leader, another, accountability partner. Pray with me, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And I throw it out to you guys. I say, I throw things out to you guys, and I ask, what are you sensing, but I only do that with select persons. And the only way I step outside of that, and when I say select persons, I think what I'm saying is persons that I know are maturing in the Lord, or mature in the Lord, persons that I know are drawing close to the Lord, who will really seek His face, who are not trying to give me their own understanding, but God's understanding. And yeah, those are the persons. And the only way I go outside of that is that if the Lord is directing me to go outside of that, or if there's somebody that that's mature, who says, why don't you speak to that person, because that person has a would have a good perspective on this. But those are the kind of things that I will do, and completely agreeing with you guys as well, for sure. you know
Yeah,
Sin.
no, Trisha, what I love about what one of the things that you shared, it reminds me of something that I've heard our leadership speak to already, where when you don't know, because very often it is our own impatience or our own plans or ideas about what it is that we hope to pursue in the future, that we have those timelines well set up, and so we are getting like, all right, God, so what's the next step? Why you feel like there's a next step? What was the last thing that the Lord communicated to you? That's what you should be sitting with. That is what you will continue to do, because you may think, all right, you're ready to transition because time is a going, and whether or not we're talking about, the timeline of marriage, the timeline of having that next child, the timeline of getting that house, whatever it is, we have these timelines in our mind. But what was the last communication that the Lord gave us? And Pastor Al will sometimes say, then why are you changing your position? If he has not said anything differently, then why are you changing your position? Kind of thing. And so I love that, Trish, that you always have these reference points that you go back to, because very often we get into this place of limbo, not because God changed his mind, not because there's any particular reason why you should be shifting, but it's our timelines, it's our ideals, it's these things that we feel that it's time to come into, but the Lord hasn't necessarily communicated a change in that place. And so to go back to those reference points and just see whether or not there really is time for a shift, I think is very helpful in that situation, in those situations as well.
I love what you're saying, guys. I love the train of conversations because I can so identify with that. And a lot of us are, even those that are watching or will watch, you find that you have a person who God has given some instruction, some abilities, some talents, and they're doing it, but it's not coming out the way they expect. So what they do, they change and they do something else. And that one person ends up doing 10 different things. Like, yo, you can't do so much things one time. That girl, them said brother, a brother, or whatever the new slang. Bro, oh, you go, Kerine, you gotta tell it to me. Bro, you can't do so much things one time, right? So, like, girl, you cannot be doing 10 things because you're trying to do one and one not coming the way you expect. So I did my certification with coaching. I think it was at the end of 2017, 2018, thereabouts. And I was like, okay, what am I now gonna do? Because I really want to do this thing. I really come to help people, and I really want to, yeah, it's fourfold, and I have all these things in my mind, and I know, and all these things, as Cara say, we think we know, but we don't know nothing. And I'm sitting down with the idea of this new venture that God has, I believe he sent me on, right? So I'm so excited. Now, the reality is, when I look at the internet and social media, there's all these different coaches. And I'm like, I remember one time I said to Kerine, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. How am I going to manage in this pack of thing? But I remember that my facilitator, when I said to her, boy, I don't know what I'm gonna do, Jenny. It's so saturated with coaches. Like, where's my space in all of this? And she's like, you're unique. Nobody has what you have. Just do what you do. Just do you. And I didn't get the time. To be very honest, she said it, and I was like, all right, cool. I still not get it. All right, cool. I still not get it. But I'm going to go to God. So hear me going to God now, girls. I'm gonna go to God in no man. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna hear her voice say, do live on Instagram. I'm gonna go like, devil is a liar. You old liar, devil, you. I tell you what, I'm gonna come show up myself so I can cancel the plan for me. When I depend that with you, but doing, I know showing up me is a girl when me sit down on the back, but don't come front, sim down the front, sim the back. He's a humble girl. There's no humility in anything I was saying, by the way. Just so y'all know that. So Nothing happened. And I was so frustrated. I go back to God 1, 2 o'clock again. I'm like, I'm not getting clients. I'm not getting anything. What's going on? How do I market this thing? How does it work? But talk to people. Nobody can tell me what to do. The first thing them said to me is, everybody's a coach. So I don't even know you're going to survive in that environment. So no, there wasn't any help. So I had a few positive people that said to me, if God called you to do it, then he has a plan. All right? So just work the plan. And I went back to him 2 a.m. one morning and I bawled out my eyes again. I said, Lord, I don't know why you're not answering me and paying me any mind. I pray to you and you know how I take care of people and you just not answer me. Oh, you cheat me, so God. It's him. I mean, hear my say, in my voice, the other hearing, me say, God life. Me still say, God, me can't live. I don't do public speaking, so I don't understand what you want me to do, and I don't know what to say to people. I'm like, this is not my thing. But I remember when I was doing the training, one of my facilitators said to me, Sim, you know that you have the gift of teaching, right? Because I'd done some personality profile assessments and all the things. And she said, you know, you have the gift of this, right? I'm like, no, I don't think I have the gift of that. She says, yes, and I want you to pursue it. So I sat down and I said, okay, since that's all I'm hearing and I'm not hearing anything else, I decided that I'm going to ask God for the topics. And the topics start rolling in. They start rolling in. And I started writing those topics, writing them in the way I know how to do them. And I didn't know how to put all of that together or anything. I know it was the Spirit of God who gave me that insight. I know it wasn't, but I know because I answered and I was obedient to that, even when I couldn't figure it out, I started writing those topics. I went live one Friday. You know why you're a joke? Listen, I'm not gonna laugh. No. But do the live, not a soul watch the live. Me one and Jesus and the live. No viewers. God said, you tricked me. Why you do this to me, God? Why? How you tell me to do this live? Trick me. You trick my God. Think we were closer than that. I think we did have a relationship. I think we did have an understanding. You trick me. You make me do all of that. Me write all of them up there. And me want to talk to myself. That's how me say, shame me, God. And everybody I watch. And them I look and them I say, what should I do? I will tell she, so she must go do that. I audit card, she coach don't even know what to do. And all of those stories came to me. But can I say something to you? God was dealing with Sim. Sim couldn't talk to nobody live. If I was not convinced that that's what God called me to do, why was I supposed to speak to anybody else? I didn't deserve the right to have that, but he wanted to expose these areas that I needed to deal with before I went live. Like seriously, before I got audience, not live, but before I got audience. So even if a nobody do the live because you're not doing it for the likes and the followers, you're doing it because you're about to transform and change lives. And so that's what he called me to do. He didn't call me to have 1 billion people follow me or 1,000 people. He said, go do the live because I have called you to do that. That will transition you into the fulfilling the purpose for why you did this, the certification. So you see when we get that? I have to some joke myself. Sometimes when I done the live, I fling down out myself on the ground, you know. I am a drama queen. So sometimes when we're done, I take myself all off of the chair and fling down myself on the ground and ball. I said, it's not fear. It don't fear. And God wanted to get out of my head the validation that I was looking for from man. So if nobody says you're doing a great job, if nobody's following, you're still being obedient to me. And that's what matters. I am after your obedience. I'm not after making you feel good. That's not me. I am trying to replicate you. And so you have to be the first example so others can see that, so you can help to transform their lives. And when I got that, I just rolled with the punches. I just did my live like I had 1,000 people on it. Hi, viewers, how you doing? Nobody know they on it. Hey, viewers, Good afternoon. Yes, and I'm doing the live and I'm doing all that. I did not know what to do. So I did the last thing that God told me to do, that like what Kara said. Are you doing the last thing that I told you to do? If so, continue to do it. And then, yes, you have access to Pastor Al. So I went to Pastor Al too, and I bowed before him, and him laugh after me and say, and you know, Pastor Al, right? Him run a little joke. Then I just go and talk to the screen. Go and talk to the screen. And that him say you for do, you sure? Go and talk to the screen, daughter. Go and talk to the screen, darling. That is what him call you to do. And I went back well armed and prepared and said, all right, enemy, my good now.
The minute that she did that, all these ideas just started flowing. So it's almost as if she she asked God the right question. She asked him a question he was willing to answer. Before it was all about, why you not doing this for me? What, you're embarrassing, da 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 da. But the minute she asked him a question that was an act of obedience to what he was telling her to do, then she started hearing some stuff. So one of the things to do when you're in this period of I don't know what to do is get to know him. And what my experience has taught me now is that as I mature and get to know him better, I begin to understand why he does some of the things he does and why he's having me wait. No, I can check myself, right? So when we in at this period and I don't know what to do, I can be like, oh God, Kerine, duh, it's God. Don't you see that clearly he's trying to have you work on your patience, or he's trying to build this in me, or and once, oh, is that him I try to? All right, then let me just work with the program like a better now. Yeah, and I know how he works. All right, Kerine. Well, you're not seeing work, you're not seeing it happen right here, but you know God, and you know that He is always working, and you know that there's something happening behind the scenes. So you just go and trust. So as in these moments, as I begin to know Him more, I begin to have an inkling of what it is that He is doing, so that even in the waiting, even in this thing where I don't know what to do next, I can trust and have faith in who he is and what it is that he is going to do, which, if you know God, is always a part of his goal. He wants us to know that he's good. He wants us to trust him. He wants us to have faith in him. And so very often with the waiting, it's him teaching you like, hey, 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 remember, this is what we're working on right now. Just trust me. Just build. Just, you know. And when you're in that mindset, then it's even easier to go and serve. All right, God, me know you're gonna work this out for me. So let me go and help Sim in the meantime. Let me go and do this for Trish. Let me and Cara do this together and we serve and blah blah blah. Because this situation, you're gonna work on it for me. You know what I'm saying? So Sim, that came out so strongly to me while you were talking. Get to know your God and know his ways, so that it's easier to believe that even in this period of frustration, he's working things out for my good.
What I like about that, Karine, is this whole getting to know your God must be, it's something that I like to do, and when I'm coaching and teaching others, I like to talk about, rather. It is the idea that you have to see the patterns in everything, because God, he's a God of patterns. You have to know how he's working with you now. That's why journaling is so important. Know how he's working with you now. And don't believe that he's always going to do the same thing, always going to do it the same way. That's not what I'm saying. So because he doesn't do it the same way all the time, right? But there's a pattern that he works with when he's working with you. Journal, take notes, just keep. Oh, because you see what you said, Karine, was, oh, that's what he's doing, because you know you God, and you know that when this happened, that's what it means. So like, I give you an example, and this is the example that's coming to mind, that's why I'm giving it to you, right? So like for me, I may be in a situation where, we're doing some work together, like a group of people in a class or webinar or whatever. And all of a sudden there is a prompting to ask a particular question. And I'm like, in the beginning, I used to say, but I know the answer to that already. I just spoke to God about that. And I recognize it's, yes, I could learn something else, right? But it's not even just about that. It's also about, but he's also using me to help somebody else. So that was one of the patterns that I picked up, where people may even look at me and go, why are you asking that question, or we don't agree with that, or this or whatever, and I may even look foolish sometimes. But you see, once that conversation starts, the Holy Spirit reveals himself. And so one of the patterns that I picked up was is that he has called me to be an agitator. And to be that agitator means that he will ask me to ask certain questions. He will ask me to be to say things like, and the things, I don't want you to think that they're not necessarily like it's a lie, but it's like, you're posing a scenario. Then, like, somebody may say, what do you do in X situation? And I know it's not something I would do, but I may say it in a way that implies that it's something that I would do, because I'm posing a scenario for the conversation to unfold, right? And I recognize it's because God has called me to be an agitator, to get conversations going, to bring transformation to certain situations. And I say all of that to say, I now recognize some patterns because I'm always journaling. Well, not always. I mean, I used to journal a lot. I used to record everything. I ask him about every single thing. I make note of stuff to know, what does this mean for me, so that even if somebody else says that's what it means for them, I know when it comes to me, this is what it means. So I totally agree with that, Kara. Totally, because we have to know our God. We have to know the relationship we have with him, how he speaks to us, how he works with us, how he does what he does, because he also knows who we are and what we require, you know? Yeah.
I could be 9 years old and know how to drive a car, but I don't know how to operate that car on the road because I'm not yet at the age that would give me an intelligence to know drive fast or when to pull over on the soft shoulder and to make decision. Because somebody can teach me to drive at 9, but would you give me a car at 9 years old and say that I'm to go and drive it on the public roads? I'm not at the age to drive that car. And so it's the same thing I think that God does to us in that moment when we're not hearing him. He has already spoken. Most times when we don't know what to do is because we refuse to do what he said the first time. Because God not keep malice. He as soon as we ask him a question, he responds. But we don't hear that because that's not what we want to hear. Our ears are, as Cara said earlier, is glued to what I want. I know I expect him to answer the questions, right? God loves you where you are at, and he will love you where you are going. So be all right with your journey.
Cara said something critical earlier on, but that's a thing with women. We have to stop. That's the thing about being called to motherhood, even if we choose not to do it. We are carriers as mothers, and that's the thing about women, right? We believe we must fix everything. My picnic muscle hungry, my family business, everything in my family need to set straight. There must be peace in my house. I must fix everything. And so the truth is, that's what God is there for. And I heard this once. I mean, I'm sure you've heard it too. If you have your hand closed, you cannot receive, right? If you have your hand closed, you can't receive. So all these things that we're talking about, really, what to do when you don't know what to do. Listen, the reality is we are in process. We have our own understanding. Some of that needs to be well, all of it needs to be retrained, rewired, and it takes time. So we just need to come to a place where we understand that don't get in God's way. We don't have to fix everything. God has a plan. And sometimes it requires just being still, even as we go about our day to day and so on. It requires that we be still. It requires that we go back to the last thing that He said, because the reality is sometimes we're not hearing because we have not been obedient to what He said the last time, you know? So let's do it differently. Let's do some stuff differently. Let's spend more time being still. Let's spend more time having the right attitude while we wait upon Him. And let's commit also to being obedient. Because, if you think about it, if it's a process, which it is, and if it is progressive, which it is, then it means that we shouldn't really expect God to jump the gun and move from A to Z or A to wherever just because, you know, we want to get there. And remember, we have to serve. We just have to. Jesus served the entire time. The entire time. So we have to serve. And I like what Kerine says as she types it in the chat, and take the focus off of ourselves, right? Because listen, we're here to love upon others and serve them. That is what Jesus would do. So when you don't know what to do, serve, love, wait, be still, right attitude, praise, worship, journal, go back to the last thing. And if there's anything that I forgot, rewatch the video and you will pick it up. Yeah, we love you though, and we're always praying for you, and we're really looking forward to hear some testimonies. Comment on this and tell us what resonated with you. But also watch the other video, them, man. Yeah, man, catch up because God has been offloading some great, you know, just sharing a lot with us in these videos that we've done. Bless you, and we see you next time. Bye.